Okay, yesterday we were learning about what makes something Hamotzi, and we're discussing flour and water baked as Hamotzi, flour and water cooked as mezainis, flour and juices, sometimes mezainis, depends how much of it you eat. Now when somebody makes Hamotzi at the beginning, of the meal, that covers all the brachas of everything in the meal that is eaten in order to fill you up. The only exception to what the bracha Hamotzi doesn't cover is if you drink wine during the meal. You have to make a bracha on the wine, that we'll soon learn. And if you eat things in the meal that are not there to fill you up. So that's why most desserts is basically for appetite, if it tastes good. You're not eating it because you're still hungry. So therefore, most desserts you have to make a bracha, even though you washed and made Hamotzi. But everything that you eat in the meal, whether it's fish, salad, soups, chicken, rice, whatever, all those things which you're eating as part of a meal are covered with the Hamotzi. Now what happens if somebody, let's say, washes to shalosh hodis, or during the day, and then there's some watermelon on the table, or other grapes, or whatever. You have fruits on the table. In the middle of the meal, you take a piece of watermelon. It's not dessert, but you're eating in the middle of the meal. Let's say, by shalosh hodis, you can have tuna fish and lax and salads, whatever, and they also have watermelon. And you take a piece of watermelon. Because watermelon is not eaten to fill you up, you have to make a brei adam on the watermelon, even though you washed, and you're not eating it as dessert. But you're not eating it in order to fill you up. What happens though, hypothetically, if your meal consists of bread and watermelon? That's your meal. So then the din is, together with the first bite of watermelon, you should eat it together with a piece of bread. Then you don't have to make a bracha on the watermelon. But if it's not your meal and you're just eating other things, in the middle you take a grape, a cherry, whatever it is, you have to make a bracha. You don't have to make an after bracha on it, because benching, berchat hamazon, or benching like we call it, that covers all the things during the meal. What?
So if you're having, let's say, toast with peanut butter and bananas on top,
No, that's all part of the meal. So you don't make a bracha on the banana or on the peanut butter. I'll tell you a little secret. Let's say you're not eating bread. What happens if you're eating a cracker, which is mezainis, with peanut butter and a slice of banana on it? According to halacha, you make a mezainis on the cracker and everything else is covered. But that's a din that we're going to get to eventually. It's called ikar v'tafel. So anyway, food that you're eating during the meal, once you washed and you make a Hamotzi, you don't have to make a bracha on it. If it's food that you're eating not to fill you up, I'll give you another example. Even let's say you have cake at the end of the meal. Okay? So in halacha it says like this: if it's possible b'kissing, you can probably not make a bracha on it anyway. But let's say it's regular cake. So it depends. It says in Shulchan Aruch like this: do you make a bracha on that cake at the end of the meal? So it says if you're eating it because you're still hungry, you don't make a bracha on the cake. If you make a bracha because it's it tastes good, it's good taivas, so then you do make a bracha on the cake. So it depends what.
What's the reason with like a watermelon you would have to eat it with the bread if it's the meal?
Because you're showing then that the watermelon is the meal.
Even though by like other foods we don't do that, like
right.
Chicken we don't do that.
Because chicken is something which is made, what's called in halacha language, lelafis ben sapas. It's there to accompany the bread. It's there to fill you up. What?
What if salad is a fruit salad?
No. And that's your meal?
Yeah, you make it.
You're having bread?
And then afterwards, it's a fruit salad.
No, but I'm saying that's your meal, bread and fruit salad?
No. It's the salad instead of being lettuce and carrots and...
If it's a fruit salad, you'd have to make a bracha on it in the middle of a meal. Again, unless if that's your meal and you're eating bread together with the salad, then not. Now, as far as liquids go, we said that the only liquid you make, la halacha, there's different opinions about whiskey and other things, but la halacha, if somebody is eating a meal, and all drinks in the middle of a meal, you do not make a bracha. The only exception to this is wine. Wine is such a prominent drink that you have to make a bracha on the wine even if it's during the meal. Okay? So let's say, let's just say, give a scenario. Let's say Friday night you make Kiddush, okay? And then you go wash, and then you're drinking wine again during the meal. That's between the fish and the meat, whatever. You eat drinking wine, you don't have to make a new bracha because you already made a bracha on the wine before Kiddush. But let's say you weren't making Kiddush at home. You heard Kiddush in Shul, now you're going home to eat your Shabbos meal, and you wash and have a mates, and then you drink a cup of wine during the meal. Or during the week, you just have wine at your meal. So even though you wash, you still have to make a very piyal gafen. The another unique thing about wine, because it's such a prominent drink, when you drink wine, you do not have to make a bracha on any other liquids that you're drinking at that meal, as long as you know that you're going to be drinking them. And if they're on the table or you had in mind, you're going to be drinking. What? It doesn't cover the bread though. I'm saying no, forget Hamotzi now. Now I'll give you a very interesting scenario. Okay? I'll give you an example that you don't make a first bracha on something, but you're going to have to say a bracha afterwards. Let's say here in Shul, you have a Kiddush Shabbos. Okay, so we make Kiddush, and then everybody drinks a little bit of wine. You don't drink a lot of wine or grape juice, you drink a little bit. So whether you make a bracha on the Bari Piyal Gafen yourself, or you do it from the one that made Kiddush, our custom is that people do not make their own Bari Piyal Gafen. Other people have a minute, they do make a Bari Piyal Gafen. But that's not relevant. So let's say somebody makes Kiddush, and you take a little grape juice. Okay? Then you take a cup of soda. You're not washing. You take a cup of soda. You don't make a shahakol on the soda because either you made your own Bari Piyal Gafen on the wine, or you heard the Bari Piyal Gafen from one making Kiddush, so it's like you made the Bari Piyal Gafen. So therefore, you don't have to make a bracha on the soda. 1 second. But what happens though if you drink a very little amount of grape juice or wine? Okay? And now, at the end, you're drinking a full cup of soda. So you didn't make a bracha rishena on the soda because it was covered by Bari Piyal Gafen. But you didn't drink enough wine to make an after bracha on the wine. So then you're going to have to make a bari nefashis on the soda. But if somebody, let's say, is drinking, not only does wine, by the way, cover the first bracha, it covers the after bracha too. So let's say somebody takes a cup of wine or grape juice, drinks up a cup of wine, grape juice, and they also drink soda, juice, whatever, a bunch of other liquids, coffee, whatever. So because you made a Bari Piyal Gafen, you don't have to make a shahakol on the drinks. It covers it. Not only that, when you make an after bracha on the wine, halagefen v'alpiyah gefen, you don't have to make a bari nefashis on the other liquids because the after bracha of wine also covers the after bracha of all other drinks. Just like it covers the bracha before the drinks, it covers the bracha after the drinks. Unless, if you drank a little bit of wine, not enough to make an after bracha, and then you drank an ounce of soda or coffee or whatever it may be, and that you did have enough to make an after bracha, so then you're going to have to make a bari nefashis on this coffee or the soda because you're not making an after bracha on the wine. But if you made an after bracha on the wine, then you don't have to make after bracha on the drinks. What?
Does that apply only on Shabbos?
No,
During the week?
during the week.
We can just a baby Gafen and you know, everything you want to drink soda.
Only drinks though.
Only drinks.
Yeah, this is nothing to do with Shabbos. It's a din and brachas. Wine is a very prominent drink, so the bracha of wine covers all other liquids, the bracha before and the bracha after. Or just mentioning scenarios where you drink a little bit of wine. So you don't have to make a bracha on the soda, but you're going to have to make an after bracha on the soda, burn the nefashis, because you're not making after bracha on the wine because you didn't drink enough.
How much wine do you get to drink?
3 ounces.
And grapes,
What?
wine and grapes, that's also usually.
No, it's just alais v'priyates. You have to make a bracha on the grape separately.
But after your,
What?
after bracha, you do halachic only?
No, I'll give him, if he ate what? Enough
Grapes
wine?
and wine, yeah, both.
Oh.
Enough.
So you make I'll give up alais v'priyates. It's 2 separate brachas. I mean, you do it in one bracha, but it's 2 separate things. What? What?
If you're eating and then you decide you don't want to eat anymore, and then you decide you want to eat it again, you have to say, well,
Correct.
what if you're still chewing when you decide you don't want to eat anymore? But before you finish chewing, you want to continue to eat a little bit more.
That's a big question because the second you make up your mind, especially if you verbally say it,
No, you didn't say perfectly, but you're thinking. But you still have the grape in your mouth. You want to have another 5 grapes because it's nice.
if it's still chewing in your mouth and they're in front of you at the table, you don't have to make a no bracha. If you verbally make a declaration, I'm done. Now the only time that din applies if you're at your own home. What happens if you're at somebody else's table and they serve dessert or whatever and you said, okay, that's it, we're done. And then they bring out more desserts. So then because it's not your home, what you think doesn't matter. If the host of the house thought that's it depends who's the host, the wife or the husband. Then it would depend on that. But yeah, once you make up your mind, so that bracha, the earlier bracha is done. What?
If you're at somebody's house,
What?
if you're at somebody's house, they say let's bet, you can't have anything else to eat, right?
If they say let's bench, yeah. Unless if they tell you can continue eating.
So if the host says, let's veg, but you still want to eat more, you have to say what you say.
No, because the host, when the host says let's bench, he's talking about himself. Unless if he's a mean host. And he doesn't want you to eat up more because it costs money. So then it's a different story.
What if he doesn't know you want to eat more?
Huh?
What if he doesn't know you want to eat more?
I'll give you an example. What happens if the guy says, the host of the house, no, this is a real situation, right? They finish the meal, they serve dessert, the host says, okay, let's bench. And the wife says, no, there's more food coming. Or more dessert, whatever it is, right? So, because in this case, she's the boss of the meal, and the husband basically normally, he thinks the wife is not giving any more food. But if he would know the wife is giving more food, he's not going to say, let's bench. So then he could still continue eating without a bracha. Because he's Taylor, his mind is dependent on the hostess who's the one serving the food. Okay, by the way, this din of Beit Gafen applies to wine, to grape juice. Now, sometimes you have wine which is diluted. In fact, most of the kosher companies today, the wine is diluted as much as the halacha possibly allows. Not the expensive wines, the cheaper wines. They're already diluted to get more wine for their money, the companies. So if there's 1/6 of wine, meaning there's 1 ounce of wine to 6 ounces of water, you can't make, no, it has to be,
1/6 is 1 wine, 5 water.
no, 1 second. Let me finish. If it's 1 wine to 6 ounces of water, the wine is halachically diluted, and then it's not Beit Gafen anymore.
Doesn't matter the percentage.
1 second. If it's 1 in 5, less than 6. In other words, if the wine is diluted 1 ounce of wine or grape juice, diluted in 5 ounces of water, then you still make a Beit Gafen.
Some wines have 3%, some wines have 15% after.
Yeah, but it depends on how much water is in it. It doesn't matter on the strength of the wine. In the time of the Gemara, and And the Gemara has a lot of discussion about this. The wine was so powerful, it was poisonous to drink wine that wasn't mazug.
Like 90 proof.
No, it's like wine in the time of the Gemara was so strong, it was mamish dangerous to drink. So they used to dilute it with water, push it to make it drinkable. That's why you have in halacha the expression many times, you have it by the Pesach Seder, meizgen leikais. Meziga actually doesn't mean pouring. Meziga in halacha means mixing water in it to make it drinkable. But it doesn't depend on the alcohol percentage of the wine. It depends on how much water is in the wine. How much is it diluted?
It's literally grape juice.
Huh?
Same idea with grape juice. It has nothing to do with alcohol content. That's what you're saying.
It has nothing to do with the alcohol content.
Content of the grape juice.
But even grape juice, a lot of them, again, we were discussing the other day, if it's in concentrate, anyway, there's water in it. Not 1 to 6. But if a lot of companies add water to grape juice, so now you have to know what grape juice you're allowed to add water to still be able to say Beri Priyagofen on it, or to make Kiddush on it.
You just take some grapes and squeeze it in a cup. And
So there's reason to worry that some people add the 3 drops.
Nah, that's 3 drops.
if you make it for a popsicle, do you say halacha?
What?
If you take grape juice and make it into a popsicle, is it halacha or halacha?
If you take, it's a good point. What happened, we used to do as kids, you take grape juice and you put it into a popsicle shape and you put it into the freezer. It's still Beri Priyagofen, it's still frozen wine. You have to make a Beri Priyagofen and an alagefen on it. If you make a grape juice, not what have today great popsicles, that's all artificial. Yeah, if you take wine or grape juice and freeze it, it's still a gofen.